Welcome to the Train of Thought podcast. My name is Logan DeCamp, and I am a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach.
And I'm Chloe DeCamp, and I'm a certified athletic trainer.
And we are sitting down here today because we want to help you learn and grow so you can continue to do without restriction as you age.
Be sure to listen till the end of the episode so that you can get information that you can apply to your life and follow us for more. Okie dokie.
Yeah, we're up and live. What kind of tea are you drinking over there?
A London Fog.
London Fog.
It's Earl Grey tea with milk.
Interesting. Is it good?
It is good.
Just trying to find our notes. All right. We're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to be talking about the only supplements you ever need. I feel like this is a really important topic because the supplement industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry with a bunch of stuff out there people don't really need. And I think people forget that it's a supplement. It's supposed to supplement your diet. It's not supposed to make up the majority of your diet.
Correct, yeah. And I'll kind of get into the history of like when supplements became popular and why these came around. But I do think like the majority of supplements, like it's in the name, it needs to supplement your diet, not take over. So I'll kind of just hop right into the history behind them. They first became popular in the mid 20th century when first sales of multivitamin supplements were introduced. In 1920s, vitamin A and C had increased sales because people believed supplements could help with a lot of different health issues. And then vitamins were put into pill form and became a lot easier available for people in around the 1930s, 1940s. And then the once daily multivitamin was introduced in 1943. So that like one a day vitamin that you always see at the store and stuff, that became a thing in 1943, which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
Then during World War II, there was an effort and focus on nutrition to help with health issues among soldiers. And around the 1970s, 1990s, there was an increase in commercial retail stores and modernization of agriculture that changed people's diets. And so because of those two things, I mean, it just became a bigger push to find what's going to help us be the healthiest that we can be, right?
Interesting. I'm wondering if, sorry to interrupt your story here. I just was thinking.
It's no story.
Yeah. Well, sorry to interrupt your
Whatever.
spiel there.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, I mean, it's interesting that changes in agriculture started to change people's diets. So then there was kind of a push to, it sounds like, add more supplements to help supplement people's diet around the 90s. Is that kind of what you're saying? Or?
Well, it's just that you had things that were more available quicker. So things that we wouldn't have in bulk or as common, were way easier to get and cheaper and all of that. And so that includes like supplements, like it's just a lot more available, right? Then in 1994, Dietary Supplement and Health Education Act was passed by the U.S. Congress. And don't ask me what that means, but should have looked into that one. But essentially, like more awareness, and especially at the government level, towards diet and supplements and things like that started becoming a thing. And then in the in 2010s, about the gummy vitamins became more popular, and that became even more widespread. So
interesting.
I don't know who remembers having a little Flintstone gummy or their little, vitamins when they were kids, but those were pretty popular around when we were kids. Then pre-workout supplements, which is kind of a separate thing, right, became a thing in early 2000s with bodybuilders and weightlifters making their own concoctions and stuff. And then in 2005, arginine, an amino acid that's a component within pre-workout, became commercialized and became, a more widespread use in that pre-workout, and then it kind of took off from there, and social media really helped with pre-workout becoming a really, really big push, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then along the same lines, we'll talk more about it, but creatine was introduced to the general public in early 1990s, shortly after the Barcelona Olympic Games. And so now we have, like we said at the very beginning, $1 billion industry of supplements and vitamins and tons of things out there and multiple different brands of those things telling you need this. And social media does a really good job of saying, oh, this is what I use and it's made me lose all my weight and be so healthy and, make me live longer and all this stuff, right? And we just have to be a little bit more aware that supplements are meant to supplement, not take over your diet. And some of these things are helpful, and we're going to touch on what things we see being the most helpful. But there's another point to this, is that you have to, if you're deficient in any kind of vitamin, any minerals, things like that, it's important to go to a doctor and actually find out your blood work and see what you're actually deficient in, because this is a general blanket thing of like, oh, if you're thinking about incorporating some kind of supplement in your routine and you don't have anything, these are some things to go base off of, but it's not a hard and fast thing. We're not doctors. We're not, super well, dietitian versed, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
in all of this. And so make sure that you're taking everything what we say with a grain of salt, but certain things can be added in without much harm. But just wanted to let you know on that.
Interesting. That's
Yep.
really cool. I had no idea that's where supplements started, and that's kind of how it progressed.
Mm-hmm. I also kind of want to touch on, as an athletic trainer, there's position statements that kind of give guidance for the athletic trainers and for athletes and stuff. And they have one on supplements with athletes. And so it had some important things to note within like the NCAA and like athletics. There are certain banned substances, and so it's really important for athletes to know, okay, what am I taking? What if this pre-workout that has a whole bunch of random crap in it, what if that has a banned substance in it? You have to be really careful about what you're intaking, right? And so that's why this is kind of important in terms of the athletic training realm. But I'll just take a couple excerpts from what it says in there. So it says performance can be enhanced using intentional performance diet. And so you got to consider proper nutrition, changes in athletes' habitual diet. Those are the things that need to be considered first. And it's important to get a support team with dietitians and other healthcare professionals, kind of like I was saying before, with more nutrition expertise in terms of like what you need to be taking. And it does say, something that is important to know is that dietary supplement labels do not require third-party verification. Purity and non-contamination cannot be assumed. And so Logan was mentioning a little bit, but there's like the FDA doesn't necessarily say, what's the wording I need?
FDA doesn't
Regulate it. Sorry, thank you. There's just like not a lot of regulation in terms of dietary supplements, so there can be more or less than what's on the label on the container, and it may have ingredients that are not listed because it's not regulated. So for example, like if you look at a package of like M&Ms, it sometimes says like may contain peanuts or something because it's
Right.
regulated, put into a factory like that. On most supplements, they would, if they're reliable and good, they'll probably make note of that, but it's not regulated saying that they have to state these things are also made in this factory and they could come up in your supplement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you have to take everything with a little bit of caution. And just know that the exact amounts may not be super accurate, and just ingredients may not be super accurate as well.
Interesting, which
Yeah,
is kind of scary.
it is a little scary. And so hopefully over time we can get more regulation with this, since it is such a popular industry. And I think that's another element of being really careful about what brands you buy. Because certain brands are going to be just looking for a quick dollar and throwing it in and saying, you need this. And it's like, no, you don't. You really don't need it. Like BCAAs, I feel like were such a huge trend there for a while.
Branched amino acids, yeah.
And
It's
there's no really backing to it. Like so many things, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have to get into that. But the most important thing is we're going to establish a food first mentality. Get your vitamins, get your minerals from food first. And then make sure you have a good training, all of that. Make sure you have focus on whole foods over the supplements, coming in pill or powder form. That goes for protein powder as well. Because all of the vitamins and minerals we need are actually better absorbed by food than pill form or powder form. So, now we're going to kind of switch gears and talk about what are the ones that we say, if you're going to take time to research and put money towards, these are what we would recommend.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in my experience working with people these past 4.5 years. Of course, always consult your doctor. And if your blood panel says differently, then there's going to be some different supplements you need in your diet. But generally speaking, there's only 4 supplements, only 4 you really need. And there's 2 bonus ones that we will also mention here today. But again, if it's not in line with these 6 total supplements, I would be highly, excuse me, thank you. I have a patient, so thank you for your patience. But oh my gosh, I don't even think I even said stutter there.
You didn't.
I said thank you for your patience. I have a stutter, so thank you for your patience. That's what I'm trying to say. My brain's trying to catch up.
Funny.
Yeah. Beat the cart before the horse.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anywho, so if it does not fall within these 6 supplements, I would be really hesitant about getting the supplement. So the first one is magnesium, more specifically magnesium glycinate. And many people are deficient in magnesium because of a heavily processed diet, chronic stress, gut issues, and overconsumption of alcohol, just to name a few. And even if you eat a diet high in magnesium foods like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains, the odds is that you will not get enough of this nutrient to support what is needed for the benefits. So some signs of a magnesium deficiency could be poor sleep or insomnia. This is a big one because for people that are really deficient in magnesium, just supplementing this at night could improve their sleep dramatically, and you will notice effect quickly as well too. And some other signs of deficiency include muscle cramps, spasm, twitches. Why are you laughing?
Just thinking about your muscle cramps.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I got something weird going on. But fatigue and low energy, anxiety and irritability, and headaches or migraines.
Yeah. I think magnesium can come in a lot of different forms too. There's like magnesium sprays that people spray on their feet and soaks and stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's lots of different different ways of getting your magnesium. I take a complex magnesium that includes both citrate and the other ones. And glycinate, and I think there's one other one, but I can't remember right now. It's over there. And then Logan takes the glycinate. You can buy it at bulk in Costco. But magnesium is a naturally occurring, I guess, what do you call it? Like a compound, I guess.
If we're speaking
Mineral.
biology, I don't.
Well, it's naturally occurring in the body.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we
Neither
naturally.
of our brains are working today.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun episode. Thank you for
oh
your
my
patience, guys.
gosh.
This is going to be fun. I'm on my second cup of coffee, too, and it's not doing anything new. So
But
maybe I need
anyway,
to-
so it's naturally occurring in the body. So, I mean, like, that's something that I think makes a lot of sense in terms of supplements is like, does this already exist in my body? Yes, but do I have enough of it? So, like, that goes for like the vitamin A's, C's, D's, and all of that. Like, we get some of that from our food, but do we naturally produce all of that? You know what I mean? Like, think
Yeah.
about it and make sure that we're, you know, being smart about what we take. But
Yeah.
magnesium does exist in the body, but sometimes we can enhance all of these things. Like sleep is, like you said, a really good one.
Yeah.
I'll speak on
the next one, then
Yep.
you can do the other.
You got it.
So the next one, the second supplement that we believe people need is fish oil. There are 3 essential fatty acids, omega-3, 6, 9, and each have their own specific benefits that we're not going to dive deep into here. What?
I said, yeah.
I thought you said, oh. I was like, what? We talked about this.
Sorry.
While we don't get all of... So, fish is a nutrient powerhouse for these 3 essential fatty... I can't say that word today. Fatty acids. However, you can still get omega-3, 6, 9 from other foods. But again, if you're not eating a diet high in fish, the odds are of you getting enough of these omega-3, 6, 9s that are essential, they're essential fatty acid, means your body doesn't produce it, then we need to supplement through like fish oil.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would, plus what I would also note is that taking omega-3 or making sure you're consuming a diet high in omega-3, monounsaturated fat through nuts, seeds, and other healthy monounsaturated fat is crucial to regulating inflammation as well too. Because a lot of processed and a lot of fast food is high in omega-6, which is a pro-inflammatory nutrient, which is why a lot of people have chronic inflammation. And then if you're chronically inflamed, that could lead to insulin resistance, which then could lead to type 2 diabetes. So regardless if you're eating a diet high in processed food or whole foods, being able to help regulate inflammation for a health and longevity standpoint is important. So on the realm of these essential fatty acids, consume fish oil, but also maybe even more omega-3. They have a omega-3 supplement, and you can also eat a diet high in omega-3 foods as well too.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. At least for me, I don't eat enough fish or like nuts and seeds and stuff. So that's something I should probably be supplementing.
Yeah, it's important.
It's a good one. Okay, next one is going to be creatine.
Number 3.
People really like creatine. It's
the most
becoming
studied
very
supplement.
popular, yes. And I want to say while I was in school and researching this, like all the supplement stuff, I want to say creatine was the one that like they recommended out of anything. If an athlete's going to take something, it would be creatine. But just because, yeah, it's been the most studied. It's once again, it's something that naturally occurs in the body and is made from amino acids. And so its main function is to immediately supply energy to tissues and with increased energy demands, such as the muscle and brain. This can be achieved by phosphocreatine's high-energy phosphate bonds that are available for immediate ATP replenishment in energy-demanding circumstances. What does that even mean? Essentially, it's just important to ATP, which is essentially the energy producer of the body, right?
Yeah.
And
So
in
like
terms of replenishment.
So like I move my hand generating ATP, right? And my body can only produce 3 to 5 seconds at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So taking creatine helps us
helping with that replenishment.
Yeah, making it faster, which is going to help us boost our performance because now we can recruit those muscle
exactly
patterns in a little bit more quickly.
And that's what I was just going to talk about, is that it can, it's shown that it may enhance athletic performance. It contributes to rapid energy production, like you were just saying, and may enhance power or speed bursts requiring short periods of anaerobic activity. The reason can be associated to the glycogen storage in muscle. So glycogen can quickly release glucose, which is an important, part of instant energy. And the creatine supplementation can help with increasing that storage of glycogen so that we have more of that, so that glucose can be used quickly.
Which I'm assuming is going to make people store more water.
Yes.
Which is important because a lot of people is like, I'm not going to take that because it makes me put pounds on the scale.
Yep.
But you're storing water in your muscles.
Yes.
Your joints
because
are more
the glycogen and that whole process of the ATP needs water for it too. So that's the whole point. It's not that big of a deal.
And it could potentially make your muscles look better too if they're more filled with water, right? Yeah. So I think I just want to bring that to light because a lot of people are scared of the potential weight gain with creatine. Weight, yeah. It's like 2 to 3 pounds, but it's not fat.
It's also part of the natural body production. Like,
yeah, I know. I just wanted to mention that.
Nope, that's totally true. Thank you for mentioning it. Another part of this is that the creatine supplement doesn't necessarily build muscle, but creatine supplementation along with regular resistance exercising and well-balanced diet may help offset age-related sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is loss of muscle mass and power that happens when we grow older, but also occurs when muscles are inadequately activated, such as after injury. So it kind of helps with, once again, just those processes used by muscle, but isn't necessarily building our muscles. That's where like protein comes in, right?
Yeah.
But creatine has a really good value in the process of our energy production, muscle building production, you know what I mean? And so it has some point towards longevity too in that.
Yeah,
with the sarcopenia
when you
aspect,
get older,
which is cool.
The biggest risk of you getting hurt is sarcopenia, loss of muscle.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can take a supplement, now of course there's not a magic supplement in the world that's going to help you build muscle, but if you can take a supplement that's going to help aid in the process of building muscle, it's going to help you avoid your chance of getting hurt from slipping and falling as you get older. So
spam call. Yep, nope, exactly. Just wanted to make another note that the FDA doesn't regulate it still. Same kind of thing as all these other ones. So just be paying attention to that when you are looking into a creatine brand. Another little excerpt that I found was that oral creatine administration may improve short-term memory and intelligence reasoning of healthy individuals, but its effect on other cognitive domains remains unclear. So they're still researching this, but there is some indication that it can help with some short-term memory and, just intelligence and reasoning and things like that. And future studies are recommended to be able to look into people with like dementia and other cognitive impairment and see if it makes any difference. So I'm excited to see where more research goes on this, because I think if it does have that good, indication towards the short-term memory and things like that, it may be really beneficial for older populations and even starting younger so that we can prevent and help fight off some of these other aging things, right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
So taking a creatine is not only important for being able to help you build muscle, but it also sounds like it's important for your cognitive function, your health and your longevity.
Well, and I'm assuming that's attributing also to the ATP realm, right? Because of what its function is, because your brain uses a lot of that, right? Your brain is firing off constantly. And so I imagine that's how it's helping, but
I would
super cool.
So. Yeah. I'll cover the next two here and then you can touch on the last one.
Yeah.
So the fourth supplement that we believe people need is vitamin D. while we can get vitamin D from the sun, most people don't get enough to support what we need, especially in the winter when whenever the sun's not out as much. And vitamin D helps us boost mood and brain health, helps support our immune system, helps keep our bones strong, and can potentially help aid in inflammation reduction. And some signs you are low in vitamin D could be fatigue, low energy, frequent illness, mood changes like depression and anxiety, bone and joint pain, and hair loss. So pretty straightforward there. I would just highly encourage taking vitamin D because, again, we do not get enough that our body needs. Now, the next one, so the last two are kind of bonus. I believe the four we talked about, vitamin D, a creatine, fish oil, and magnesium, those are the four that I recommend everybody should take. Now, these last two are kind of up in the air. From my experience working with people these past 4.5 years, I've seen a lot of people are normally pretty deficient in these areas. So you could potentially fall into a category here as well. But the fifth one is electrolytes. And to be more clear, now, of course, there's more than this, but sodium, magnesium, and potassium. Now, I believe there's like 2 or 3 other electrolytes, right? But the main electrolytes we need are the sodium, magnesium, and potassium. So we already talked about magnesium. That was the first one we mentioned. But we also need sodium and potassium. Now, I don't have the data in front of me, but a good article to read that anybody can read. It's super easy and digestible. It's not like this crazy long research article, but it was written from a company called LMNT, and they wrote about how people need at least about 3,500 to maybe even as high as 6,000 milligrams of sodium a day if you're a high-performing athlete. And a lot of people have been told for many, many years that 2,000 milligrams is the max. We shouldn't consume any more. But a lot of new research is coming out saying that that lower sodium could lead to headaches, migraines, could potentially cause high blood pressure. So we need more sodium in our diet, especially if you make the change from a processed diet to a whole minimally processed food diet. You're going to notice immediately that you're going to have more cramps. Like, I've had clients that cut out fast food and they start eating more whole foods, and then all of a sudden they're wondering why they're waking up in the night with cramps. Well, you need more sodium in your diet, right? Mm-hmm. And then also potassium. I don't have the data in front of me, but potassium is then going to help support those decrease in muscle cramps and spasms, mm-hmm. and it's just another it's another nutrient we need to be mindful of, and consume in our diet.
The point down to the physiological level of the reason why we need sodium and potassium is that they play this balance game with muscle contraction or neural pathways, everything. They play a little flip-flop game to pass along information along our neural pathways, along our spinal, this is dumbed down because I don't even remember all the details of it, but it's super important to a lot of our bodily functions. But that's, what Logan was saying is that there's certain saying, like, sodium was put, bad sodium, not good for you. You got to have less of that because there was such a highly processed diet culture, especially here in the US. Like, we have such a problem with that, right? Because you're getting so much sodium from these highly processed foods, fast food, all of this. And so, yes, reducing that can help, with some of these other problems, but that's not the deeper core issue, right? I mean, it's getting back to whole foods. And then, you may see, like, your clients may be like, well, I might need a little extra of that boost because it's still so important to our bodily functions. Like, it's so important.
I would argue that it's not necessarily, yes, the sodium in processed food is a contributor, but I would argue that a large contributor to the problems that we see in these processed food diets is the quality of the food.
Well, right, but
Inflammatory oils, and people are gaining more body fat, which
right,
that
and they're
excess
heavily
body.
salted,
Yeah,
so that's where the sodium comes in.
yeah,
They're heavily salted. That's why.
yeah,
And so if you're having an excess of the salt, and then maybe you're depleting your potassium, because who knows, I don't know if there's much in the fast food of the potassium, probably not. And then it just becomes this like imbalance, right? And then going back to a whole food diet and then seeing, okay, I may need to supplement with that is kind of the point of the electrolytes. So
yeah. Yep, for sure. And then,
yeah.
do you want to touch on the last one?
Yeah, so the last one is probiotics. And when the reason why we say this is important, and it's, once again, you know, you got to find the right type of probiotic. There's a lot of them out there, and there's like a certain number of like probiotics that you need or whatever, like 1,000 something, whatever.
IP or something like
Yeah.
that.
But essentially the reasoning behind that is that, especially in kind of an older, not older generation, but like a little bit older than us, when antibiotics were first discovered, they were seen as like this miracle cure for all of these infections and things. And yes, I mean, amazing science, incredible, but it was often prescribed very liberally for even minor infections, leading to a higher overall usage rate. And compared to early days of antibiotics, the use today is a lot more controlled due to growing concern of antibiotic resistance. So because it was used so heavily back then, a lot of the bacteria has learned to become resistant to those antibiotics and don't work. Those antibiotics don't work on certain bacteria now, right? And
Interesting.
so there's so many different issues with that. Like we could go on and on, but antibiotics themselves kill bacteria because you're trying to get rid of this infection, right? But that also includes the good bacteria in our gut, and thus reducing the diversity of our microbiomes in the body. And it can also change the types of bile acids produced in the gut microbiome, which can then cause some longer issues, right? So yes, we want to, if you're needing antibiotics and prescribed them by your doctor, you probably need them. Just follow your doctor's, rules there. We don't want you to get an infection. That is the last thing you want, or fight it off. But on the flip side, yes, the antibiotics cause and wreak havoc on your gut. And so it takes a really long time for that gut microbiome to restore itself after you complete your antibiotics. And you can also be more susceptible to infection after taking antibiotics because of that reduced microbiome in your gut. So probiotics, can aid in the slow return of the microbiome to its original state, because you're reintroducing those good bacteria back into the body.
Yeah.
And so another thing that can help with that is actually dietary fiber. So increasing your fiber intake in the body, like from food, because they produce short chain fatty acids that can help balance that gut environment.
Interesting.
So that's super important. I mean, especially if you're prescribed those, just, consult with a doctor, of course. If you're having an infection, treat that. That is not, it's okay. Take the antibiotics prescribed by your doctor. We're not saying don't do it, but make sure that it is, something that needs to be done, because most doctors are not doing it, handing them out all the time anymore, right? Because there's just so much that is resistant. But back that up once you're all clear and good and healthy again from whatever you had. Make sure that you maybe look into getting some probiotics and try to build that gut bacteria back up.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing you could do is just, have your gut absolutely wrecked, and then you get hit by another bacteria that is no bueno, and
Yeah.
Now you're in the back same cycle. You got to take another round or something, and it just
Yeah. I mean,
wrecks your body.
the gut microbiome is so complex. We're still learning more about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you did a good job explaining it there. I mean, big picture mind. Take the antibiotics if you need to prescribed by your doctor, but just keep in mind it's going to kill the good bacteria in your gut, which
Mm-hmm.
helps fight and like help fight infection and does a lot of other good things in the body. I can't quite
Mm-hmm.
remember right now, but
All of the things. I mean, it helps with digesting your food and
yeah.
making sure you're getting all your nutrients. And yeah.
One thing that I learned that kind of blew my mind is that if people crave sugar and like a lot of carbohydrates, it could be just because of their gut microbiome is imbalanced. They have too
Mm-hmm.
much bad bacteria in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to put more probiotics back in and getting good bacteria back in your gut, you should notice a reduction in the cravings to sugar
Yeah,
and
that's a good
carbohydrates as
point.
well too. So
Totally.
yeah, so this has been fun. So those are the six supplements, and if you notice, we didn't mention protein powder because it's not a need. It's if you if you struggle to get protein in your diet, then supplement it, but it's not a need. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the six supplements we believe people need. And yeah, is there anything else?
Um, just if get your blood checked. I think that's always a good thing. I mean, take that with a grain of salt. There's ranges that were set as a standard for a certain group of people, and they may not be like perfectly curated to you. So just, I mean, if you're curious about what you else you might need, go get your blood checked and talk to your doctor about that. Um, but most of the time, you don't need a majority of the supplements that you see advertised, and don't fall trap to that social media like, oh my gosh, you need this, right? Because it's like, no, not really. Like, as
Yeah,
long as you're focusing on a whole food diet, doing your exercise, doing everything that you should be doing, these are things that will actually boost that and really help you in the long term. Um, I mean, you might made a note here that like pre-workout can honestly be replicated in the same effectiveness with just some water, salt, and some caffeine source. Um, and like you said, protein powders aren't super necessary. Fat burners are another marketing ploy. Same with like greens powders, and
yeah,
you could get into it, but just be smart about what you're buying. Look into the companies that are producing them so that you can trust them. There's tons of them out there, but just make sure you're knowing who you're buying from and if they're, reliable, since we don't have any regulations on the supplements. And so, um, if you guys have any questions, let us know. But I think that's all we had to say.
cool. Yeah, we will see you guys next time.
Peace.
Bye.